The most grievous sexual transgressions in the Bible are often misunderstood by people who believe that all sins are equally serious in the eyes of God. However, the truth is quite different, as the Bible clearly delineates varying degrees of sin and corresponding punishments. Many, including Christians, misinterpret this distinction to suggest that some sins may escape punishment or not warrant eternal damnation. It's crucial to clarify that all sins, regardless of their perceived severity, offend an infinite and eternal God, thus deserving an infinite and eternal penalty. While every sin results in separation from God and, if unrepented, leads to eternal condemnation, it's essential to acknowledge that not all sins incur the same divine judgment. The consequences assigned by God vary according to the gravity of the transgression. For example, the gravity of mass murder is incomparable to that of telling a single white lie. These belong to distinct categories of sin, both undeniable but significantly different in severity. Some sins have a more profound impact on individuals and communities, warranting varying punishments, akin to how earthly justice systems differentiate penalties based on the severity of the crime. It would be unjust to impose identical punishments on someone who tells a lie and someone who commits murder. This discrepancy in penalties reflects the gravity and consequences of each sin, both in human courts and in divine judgment as described in the Bible. Among all categories of sin, sexual transgressions stand out prominently in the Scriptures, warranting particular attention and study. The book of Proverbs and 1 Corinthians, it becomes evident that sexual sin is highlighted as uniquely dangerous. Proverbs indicates that there are instances where an individual might not recover from the repercussions and consequences of sexual sin, suggesting a particularly severe impact compared to other types of sin. Sexual sin is serious. It affects your body, your mind, your soul, and most importantly, your eternity. People underestimate this category of sin, but God does not. As a minister, I have seen how this category of sin changes people. It alters lives and has the potential to ruin marriages, traumatize children, and break up families. We grossly and irresponsibly underestimate the issue of sexual sin. It is the most addictive, the most insidiously silent sin there is. Having pastored people with drug addictions, I have witnessed firsthand how addictive drug addiction can be. I have seen how drug addiction can compel people to act and behave out of character, to steal, lie, cheat, and even sell their own bodies for drugs. And let me be clear, sexual sin is even more addictive than drug addiction. From what I have witnessed, sexual sin is indeed more addictive than drug addiction. I am not exaggerating when I state this. If there is one category of sin that will kill you while you are alive, it is sexual sin. This sin has the power to consume your thoughts and distort your values, leading you into a cycle of guilt and secrecy that is hard to break. It infects relationships, sowing mistrust and betrayal among loved ones. It will move you into living a living hell where you don't want to commit the sin, but you cannot stop yourself. It will ruin you in ways you didn't even know were possible. The consequences can extend beyond personal turmoil to cause lasting damage to your professional and social life. It will take you places you never thought you were capable of going. Engaging in sexual sin can lead you down a path of increasing risk and deviance, searching for more extreme experiences. This escalation can expose you to physical dangers, legal problems, and profound spiritual repercussions. Sin number 1: fornication. Many believers wonder why their appetite for sin is not removed upon salvation. The fact that a person is saved does not mean they will not be tempted to sin. When we receive the life of Christ, there is a spiritual transformation in our spirit. However, we still have a body. We still live in a body. Being born again does not mean your flesh will cease to crave fleshly things. Your spirit is saved, but your body is not. Unfortunately, many Christians live with the idea that there is something wrong with them because they are tempted. Being tempted does not mean you are a fake Christian or you are not truly born again. Being tempted is not a sin. Acting on those temptations is a sin. Consider what the Bible states as the works of the flesh. Galatians 5 verses 19 to 21. Now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lasciviousness, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance, emulations, wrath, strife, issues, heresies, envyings, murders, drunkenness, revellings, and such like, of the which I tell you before, as I have also told you in time past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of God. Notice how the first two works of the flesh listed are fornication and adultery. Adultery is the second sin we will focus on in this sermon. However, right now we will focus on the sin of fornication. It is simple: your body will crave sex because you are human, and sex is not inherently evil, contrary to what some preachers may lead you to believe. After all, God created sex, however, He intended it to be enjoyed within the constraints of marriage between one man and one woman who are married. The reason why the works of the flesh include adultery and fornication is because these are both incorrect methods by which people obtain something completely natural. Being born again does not mean you will never be tempted to fornicate or commit adultery. 1 Corinthians 6 verse 16. What know you not, that he which is joined to an harlot is one body? For two saith he shall be one flesh. In simple terms, 1 Corinthians 6 verse 16 explains that when people engage in fornication, they form a deep spiritual bond with each other. The verse specifically says the two will become one flesh. This means that beyond just a physical union, there's a significant spiritual connection that occurs, which is meant to reflect the deep and permanent unity designed for marriage. The verse highlights the seriousness of sexual relationships because they bind people together in ways that go beyond the physical act. Have you ever noticed when two people who are involved in fornication have a tumultuous and negative relationship, and you ask yourself, why don't they just go their separate ways? They want to leave, but they can't. It's not that simple. There is a connection between them that transcends the physical and any other platonic relationship. There is a bond between them that transcends nature, that even transcends this world. It is a bond that transcends time itself, a bond that words cannot describe. It transcends physical separation, maintaining its strength even when distance places the two people far apart. It is a bond that transcends logic and reason, defying simple explanations and rational analysis. It is a bond that transcends time itself, a bond that words cannot describe. Even when the relationship ends or circumstances change, the connection between two people who have become one remains intact, enduring through years and across distances. Know ye not that he who is joined to a harlot is one body? For two saith he shall be one flesh. In other words, these two people are married in the unseen world. This is really astonishing to me, because I wonder how many people are quote-unquote single. Their relationship status in this world is single, but they have been joined to multiple people. They walk around stating they are single, but the Bible tells us because they have fornicated they are joined to another person, or maybe even more than one person. Fornication creates a deep and complex connection between individuals. Why do you think breakups are so painful? When a relationship ends, you might feel disoriented and hollow, as though a part of you has been lost. Indeed, a part of you has intertwined with that person, and a piece of them lingers with you even after years. Without contact, a single message from an ex can stir profound emotions, causing hearts to flutter or sink. Why is this reaction so intense? It's because through their intimate interactions they have become one flesh, as described biblically. The saying, time heals all wounds, doesn't hold true in these scenarios. Time alone cannot mend spiritual and emotional bonds. Thus years may pass, 3, 4, 5, and you may find yourself still grappling with the aftermath of the breakup. The deep bond formed doesn't simply dissolve with time. It often requires a deliberate process of healing and spiritual recovery. There are people listening to me right now who are missing and are still in love with people they fornicated with years, even decades ago, because they are joined to that person. God knew what he was doing when he created sex exclusively for husband and music. Wife. Sin number 2, adultery. Proverbs 6 verse 32. But whoso committeth adultery with a woman, like that doeth it, destroyeth his own soul. Proverbs 6 verse 32 provides a poignant warning about the destructive consequences of adultery, focusing on two key aspects: lacking understanding and destroying one's own soul. The verse highlights the lack of understanding exhibited by individuals who engage in adultery. Even those who possess great wisdom and intelligence, such as King David from the biblical narrative, can succumb to the folly of adultery. Despite David's prowess as a strategist and ruler, his lapse in judgment when he lusted after his neighbor's wife Bathsheba demonstrates a lack of common sense. This illustrates that even the most accomplished individuals can falter when faced with temptation, emphasizing the universal vulnerability to moral failings. Moreover, Proverbs 6 verse 32 emphasizes the personal responsibility of the adulterer for the destruction of their own soul. The blame cannot be shifted onto external factors, such as the temptress spouse or circumstances. Instead, the individual must confront the consequences of their actions and acknowledge their role in their spiritual downfall. Even if one seeks to attribute fault to their desires, lusts, or the influence of external forces like God or the devil, ultimately the individual is accountable for the destruction wrought upon their soul. By highlighting the culpability of the adulterer, Proverbs underscores the gravity of their actions and the profound impact on their spiritual well-being. Engaging in adultery leads to the erosion of one's moral integrity and spiritual health, resulting in profound harm to the individual's inner being despite any temporary pleasure or gratification derived from the act. The long-term consequences are dire, leading to the fragmentation of the soul and estrangement from moral rectitude. In essence, Proverbs 6 verse 32 serves as a sobering reminder of the devastating repercussions of adultery and the imperative for individuals to exercise wisdom and moral discernment in their actions. It urges introspection and accountability, emphasizing the importance of preserving one's integrity and spiritual vitality. Ultimately, the verse underscores the profound truth that the adulterer through their actions inflicts irreparable harm upon their own soul. Proverbs 6 verse 32 warns about the serious consequences of adultery, especially the phrase destroyeth his own soul. This means that engaging in adultery can cause profound harm to a person's inner self or soul. In simpler terms, it's like causing deep damage to who you are as a person, including your feelings, beliefs, and connection to something greater. Firstly, adultery can corrupt the soul. When someone cheats on their partner, it can make them more likely to do other bad things and make their heart less open to goodness. It's like taking steps away from being wise and good, which can lead to a path of even more wrongdoing. Secondly, adultery can lead to a loss of integrity and moral strength. Cheating involves lying and betraying someone's trust. These actions can weaken a person's sense of what's right and wrong and erode their honesty and strength of character. These qualities are really important for a healthy soul. Lastly, adultery can cause emotional and psychological damage. Cheating often leads to feelings of guilt, shame, and regret. It can also damage important relationships, leading to loneliness and sadness. These negative emotions can deeply affect a person's well-being and happiness, further harming their soul. Sin number 3, pornography. One of the biggest problems in our society is the issue of porn. There are millions of Christian believers who struggle in this area. Not only believers, but even non-believers hate this sin, and yet they cannot stop committing this sin, wasting their life away watching unholy videos on the internet. And when I state the phrase unholy videos, I'm referring to pornography, because that's exactly what it is, unholy. I want you to think how much time have you spent watching those unholy videos on the internet? You are wasting your life away. Think about how much time you wasted away for that fleeting false pleasure. Have you ever stopped and thought about how different your life would be if instead of spending those endless hours watching those unholy videos, you did something productive? Imagine where you would be. Imagine how different your life could be. Imagine how much better a husband or wife you could be. Imagine how much better parent you could be. Imagine where you would be in your walk with God. Imagine where you could be with your career or business, yet you are wasting your life away on a screen. Life is passing you by. There is so much potential in you, but this one sin is holding you back. Allow me to read you some statistics. 47% of families in the United States reported that unholy videos is a problem in their home. Pornography use increases the marital infidelity rate by more than 300%. By 300%, can you imagine? 56% of American divorces involve one party having an obsessive interest in unholy websites. 68% of church-going men and more than 50% of pastors view these unholy videos on a regular basis. Of young Christian adults 18-24 years old, 76% actively search for unholy videos. 33% of women ages 25 and UND search for unholy videos at least once per month. You need to understand you live in an age like no other. With the rise of the internet and technology, we have unprecedented access to an endless library of pornography all readily in this digital age. With everything available at our fingertips, the allure of online content poses a unique challenge. The ease and anonymity of accessing explicit materials make it incredibly difficult to resist temptation. Unlike any other time in history, the digital era bombards us with a vast array of explicit materials that can consume endless hours, days, or even years of one's life. The temptation faced by this generation is unprecedented, drawing individuals away from productive pursuits, personal growth, and meaningful relationships. It's crucial to recognize the urgent need to confront and overcome this pervasive issue. We are living in an age of great evil, and we must not underestimate its impact. Marriages are particularly vulnerable to the threat posed by explicit content. Unholy videos endanger the sanctity of marriage by distorting perceptions of intimacy and creating unrealistic expectations. This can lead to dissatisfaction within marital relationships, as individuals seek fulfillment from digital fantasies, rather than nurturing their real-life connections. Those struggling with addiction to explicit content may become emotionally distant from their spouses, further exacerbating the issue. Secret indulgence in pornography can breed mistrust, communication breakdowns, and erosion of trust between partners. The addictive nature of pornography leads to secretive behaviors, fostering an environment of shame and guilt. Many suffer silently, feeling ashamed and trapped by their addiction. This silent suffering takes a toll on emotional and mental well-being, leading to a sense of hopelessness and helplessness. Individuals may withdraw from loved ones and social circles, intensifying their isolation. It's essential for our community to extend understanding, compassion, and support to those grappling with this issue. Creating a supportive environment where individuals can find healing and restoration is crucial. If someone confides in you about their struggles, avoid condemnation or gossip. Instead, offer them help and support to overcome their challenges.